and welcome back to the W Basketball Show. I'm your host, Lukas, and I'm joined by Marco, everybody.
Hey!
Marco, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back.
It's been like 6 months, maybe.
Has it actually?
I don't know.
No.
It's been months, for sure.
We did a WNBA trade something.
Oh, we did. That was only
a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Hey, but it's good to be back, man. You know,
Yeah.
I love coming out to the studio. You guys are always just such great hosts. So yeah, just really happy to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for making the trek all the way to where we are. Speaking of where we are, I do have to tell you a very positive experience I recently had.
Okay.
If you wanted to ask me about it.
How was your positive experience you recently had?
My recent positive experience, do you want to bump yourself up just a considerable amount?
There?
How
does that sound?
Go again.
I'm almost as high as it goes.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe I'm just which is usually the case. But my recent positive experience was I went to the mechanic.
Yeah.
I got a service. It was a very good service. He had a few things that he suggested I should do.
Yeah.
But said, you got a couple of months before we need to do them. And then I said, you know what, sir? Just do them. And then, because he was like, if you bring him back in a few months, I was like, okay, you and me, mechanic, you and me both know I'm not coming back in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So just do it.
It's a once a year job, yeah.
If that. So that's not the positive experience. The positive experience is I turned on the car straight away. No waiting. 3 numbers, Marco. I got 3 numbers for you. 774. So as they were working on my car, they were obviously listening to the radio. And since I got the car service, which is nearly a week ago now, I have not changed.
Oh, really?
I have not changed the
Wow.
station. It's the best.
That's
I didn't
hilarious.
realize. It's so good.
Yeah.
There's everything on there.
It's very listenable. Yeah.
Very listenable. No ads, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ABC, no ads
Yeah.
except about the ABC.
Yeah.
And you're in a bloody 774 house, mate.
Yeah, I really am, aren't I? Oh, yeah, true.
Ollie was back producing, a friend of the pod, Ollie, was producing the Conversation Hour today. So if you were listening between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m,
Which I never am.
which you never are.
Yeah, I'm only listening during peak hour, which is good, get your news in.
Yeah.
And
The best shows are during those times as well. Except for the Conversation Hour.
Yeah, the highest talent or something like this. Anyway, yes, that's been my positive experience, and I'm fully back. I'm just listening to the radio.
Yeah, the radio's good.
Yeah, I thought it was bad, but it's good.
Yeah. I don't know, it's like one of the last things that's designed to make you not want to change the channel, you know?
Yeah.
Like, free-to-air TV, it's gone, it's finished, it's done. The ads are they're too much, and
Yeah.
they're too bad.
And they need to get more so they can keep up.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a vicious, endless cycle.
A negative feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly right. But radio's still like, just keep listening to me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I will, and I'll continue to do that. Shout out radio. And actually, you know who was on, funnily enough, on Saturday? Who was on ABC Radio, or potentially Sunday? Lauren Mansfield of the Townsville Five.
Oh, really?
Yeah, would you believe it?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You mean who's going to be competing in the WNBL finals later this week?
Exactly that same Lauren Mansfield. In just 2 days from now, she'll
Wow.
be tipping off against the Bendigo Spirit out in Bendigo. And we will have everything about the WNBL finals in just a moment. But the other thing you read in the title there, good listener, is the Diana Taurasi retirement part of this. And if you rewind a year ago or 2 years ago to the Lauren Jackson episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we recorded it here.
I feel the same.
In this very same studio where I'm visiting you again.
These ABC studios. Yeah, I think we can check it up, but it doesn't really matter. One of our best performing episodes. Actually, our best performing episode as a duo.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Outside of your illustrious interviews with current and former Opals.
Yeah, current and former Lauren Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Marco went through in detail Lauren Jackson's career, gave a lot of context. Probably ran through it in like a 10 to 15 minute history lesson, and it was so entertaining. Can be seen and reflected in the numbers. And Marco, I think you've prepared something similar for us today. Maybe not with the same, attachment, as we are both quite nationalistic.
Yeah.
But you've done something similar for Diana Taurasi.
Yeah, and I went into this being like, I'm a fairly new, I'm a newer basketball fan. I'm a newer women's basketball fan as well. And, I haven't been watching Diana Taurasi for 20 years. And that's right. You could have been watching her play in the WNBA for 20 years. That's how long she has been playing. But yeah, like just looking at her resume, looking at the huge moments she's had, the person she is, I was like, oh, this is so sad she's retiring.
Yeah.
Like, that's when the sadness hit me. Because, who's Diana Taurasi to me? That, that 40-year-old woman who eliminated my team in the 2021 playoffs.
Yeah, true.
This player just playing so above like her age, her shot making like just never ever dropping off deep into her career. But like for other people, it's like no, she's just so obviously the GOAT of women's basketball over this like insanely lauded long career. So
why don't you take us through it, Marco?
I'll start at the beginning. Sorry, I got a bit of a coconut coated peanut now.
Or am I just happy to see you?
So she went through the University of Connecticut. What would you call it? The hallowed halls. The system,
yes.
Where so many great women's basketball players have gone through. She started playing there in the 2001 season after a pretty illustrious high school career in Southern California as well. That first year, she lost in the semifinals of the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, aka March Madness, and she had a bad shooting performance. It was like 5 of 15 or something like that. It was not cosmically bad. And she said, we will not lose another tournament game while I'm wearing this uniform. They went on to win 18 straight tournament games. Damn. And 3 straight titles, in which she was player of the tournament 2 times. Mm-hmm. Over 147 college games for UConn. And let's be honest, like UConn's always, got amazing players, an amazing system. Under what's his
Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, thank you. She lost 8 times over 147 college games.
Far out, man.
That, of course, gave her the right to be the first overall pick in the 2004 WNBA draft, which was picked by the Phoenix Mercury. That season, she finished as an all-star in the WNBA first team and as Rookie of the Year. So, like, what more could you want, really?
Yeah.
Averaging, like, 17, 4-4 in that first season as well. So that was the first of her 20 seasons in the WNBA. Yeah. That also includes 12 seasons she played overseas, so primarily in Russia and Turkey. So that's 32 full seasons of basketball.
True.
She fit into her career. 32 pro seasons.
Yeah.
And you could add those 4 years of college, which are like, playing college basketball in America is pretty draining. That's 33 games plus tournament play or whatever. So let's call that 36 seasons of like top level basketball she's played.
I'm happy to call it that.
over a career.
Over 24 years.
She was an all-star every year she was eligible until about, I think, 2021. And like you look at a resume and be like, oh, she was only an all-star. It was 11 times, and that's because whenever USA played in the Olympics, they didn't have an all-star game, so people just didn't qualify as all-stars.
That's so funny.
Every 4 years. On top of that, she is a 10 times WNBA first team selection, 4 times WNBA second team selection, 5 times WNBA scoring champion, 1 time assist leader, and has an MVP in. It was in 2009 when she also won Finals MVP.
Damn.
She's the all-time leading point scorer in WNBA history, not just like having that, but by about 3,000 points. Like,
damn.
Tina Charles is 3,000 points behind her.
1,500 right hook shots.
Yeah. She was also fourth all-time in assists and first in made threes. And she leads that stat by about 400 over Sue Bird. So like these are all. There was a good piece I read, about like Caitlin Clark coming into the league, and everyone's like, all right, is she going to be the women's basketball GOAT? Like, which she very well could be. There is so much she has to live up to. like not just like in terms of achievements and big moments and impact on the game, but just like pure numbers. It's like that thing where it's like, everyone's like, oh, the next Steph Curry is just around the corner. That might not be true. Like, there might not be a player who is going to put up the numbers that Diana Taurasi has put up. As well as all of her achievements in the WNBA. She was a 6-time EuroLeague champion and a 7-time Russian League champion. First with Spartak Moscow and then with UMMC Ekaterinburg. She was beloved and valued so much so that in 2015 they paid her $1.5 million, which was 14 times her current WNBA salary, to not play the WNBA and just focus on that season in Russia.
And the season before she averaged 16.2 points. Season after she averaged 17.8. Let's average that out to 17. And she also played 33 games both of those seasons. She missed out on potentially another 560 points. To add to that all-time scoring.
And like, I don't know, 80 made threes or something like that. Funnily enough, that season where they paid her $1.5 million was one of the few seasons she didn't win the EuroLeague. While she was with them.
It didn't work.
They lost in the finals. Over her career, she played in the WNBA. She played in 12 playoff series, and from 2007 to 2021, they missed the playoffs just once when she was like available. So when she didn't have a season-ending injury or was playing in Russia. So just like insane sustained success with that Phoenix team. This is by my count, so I'm happy to be corrected on this, but in win or go home games, like, you know, game 5s, game 3s, game 7s, that sort of deal, she's 16-1.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think she was 13-1 in around 2019, and then she won 3 win or go home games like after the age of 40.
My God,
just absolutely insane.
That's awesome.
If we turn our attention to the national team for a moment, where, you know, obviously the US just dominates pretty consistently. She's a 6-time Olympic gold medalist. 6 Olympic
That's
golds.
crazy.
6.
So what? First one was 04. Yeah. Damn, LJ could have been 7.
Yeah.
Wow. Go on.
I'm just pausing on that for a moment.
You can pause on that for a moment.
Absolutely insane. Like,
I think the
there's no like extra achievement for winning gold as like a, you know, USA women's basketball player. Like, you make the team and that's kind of what you get. But to make the team 6 times over 20 years.
Yeah, that true, like earning that spot, it's like, it's like a, you know, the US women's gold doesn't mean anything. It's like, no, actually making that team is harder than anything. Like, I would say it'd be maybe, far out. I haven't led myself in here too well. But would you say it's harder to make the US national team in basketball than to, over your whole career once, or to win a championship?
Oh wow. Oh God. Well, probably, I don't know, in the WNBA they're probably like pretty close. Yeah. Maybe just to win a championship. Like just that would just edge it out. Yeah. But yeah, you're so right. Like,
and to be a face of that. Yeah. She was, I mean, we're going through it, but she was just a near perfect career.
Yeah, and like she would have been, you know, a starting guard on 5 of those teams? Yeah. 5 of those gold medal teams up until 2024. She, you know.
I mean, in 2020, she finished 7th in MVP winning, so you'd assume she was starting, or she was at the very least playing heavy minutes.
Yeah. So those are not all of her accolades, but I think the most significant ones. And like you can go look at you can look at a basketball reference page, which is always a fun thing to do with players like this, and just see that she was, you know, she got MVP votes like every season that she was eligible until 2022, actually.
Oh my God. Wow. That's crazy. The thing I sent in the chat was over the first 17 years of her career, she finished top 10 in MVP all but 4 seasons. One of those seasons she played 8 games. Yeah. One she played 6. One she was playing in Russia. And the other time she was healthy and she came 12th.
Yeah.
So every other time was a top 10 finish.
Yeah. Those similarly, those are the situations where Phoenix didn't make the playoffs as well.
True.
her former UConn coach, Gina Auriemma, called her the greatest winner in the history of basketball, period. When someone's defined the game, when someone's had such an impact on so many people in so many places, you can't define it with a quote. It's a life that is a novel, it's a movie, it's a mini-series, it's a sage. It's the life of an extraordinary person who I think had as much to do with changing women's basketball as anyone who's ever played the game. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
That is such a good point. It's been a joy to watch her in the last 5 years. I think, what have we been following the WNBA probably for 5 years now?
Yeah, I think from
is our 5th year.
2020.
Yeah, I think 2020. It lines up with all those hours we had indoors. And something that has become really apparent to me is how much I regret not following it sooner. And I think this is another one of those huge moments where it's like, I have so many Diana Taurasi memories, and all of them are just blown out of the water by, like, you know, our contemporaries in the WNBA's memories of Diana Taurasi. And yeah, like, she's been, you know, in those past 5 seasons, she's been still putting up numbers, still averaging 16 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on good efficiency from 3. And yeah, she's been fun to watch. She has been a starting quality player in the league. She retired as that. I think that's a huge thing, retiring on your own terms after 2 decades, as a starter, as someone that was an all-star last season, that could probably come in and average, you know, 12 is probably the absolute baseline of what she can average in her age 43 season. She would have been a great fit next to Alyssa Thomas, Satu Sabli, Kalia Copper, that new dynamic. And she would have firmly been the starting off guard, or maybe juggled that responsibility with Copper. I guess Thomas can also run the offense, and she would have just had a great dynamic with her. But yeah, it's been so much fun to watch her, and I hope I don't miss out on the next career.
100%. I picked out a few huge Taurasi games here. I've only seen one of these 3, again, because, you know, she just achieved so much before I even, you know, began to think about watching the WNBA. Her career high was 47 points in a triple OT win against the Houston Comets in 2006. That's going up against Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, and Dawn Staley. That's, like, you know, 3 of the other best players in WNBA history, and, like, no slouches defensively either. She had 8 threes on 16 attempts, and, like, I watched a bit of the tape. I found, like, the only highlights I could find were, like, little 2-minute packages, and then I found this guy who had, like, camcorded the whole game.
Oh my god.
like going into the, you know, like, outside, like, all the pre-game entertainment, getting a hot dog, all this stuff. Oh my goodness. On YouTube. That's like so a funny 20-minute package. Can't really tell what's going on. I can imagine. But what stood out in that game is, like, this is 2006, and, like, she looks like she's playing in 2022. Like, the shots she's taking, the space she's creating, just, like, it just doesn't look like any basketball you see from that era. Like, she's so ready to pull a 3-pointer, just, like, and the ones that you would see her taking last season, you know, that just, like, off the dribble falling away to your left, off the dribble falling away to your right, like, you know, step back. And so she's just been doing that at such a high volume and to such a high level for 20 years. Tina Thompson had 37, 16, and 8 in that game, for what it's worth. Her first this is probably like one of her biggest finals performances. Game 2 of the 2007 WNBA finals against the reigning champions, the Detroit Shock. She had 30 points on 7 of 14 shooting from downtown. After an average performance in game 1, she fouled out with just 10 points in 22 minutes, then brought the series back to 1-1. They eventually won game 5 on Detroit's court. And yeah, I could actually find the full replay of this. I watched a little bit of, and yeah, she just hasn't changed. Like, she's just actually the same player. So aggressive, like so active, so focused and determined on every possession, making dumb fouls, drawing charges. Like, it's just kind of eerie that she never really, she never changed the way she played, and she never looked like. She almost never looked more or less athletic at any point in her career.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Which brings me, the final game I want to talk about is when she hit the 10,000 point mark against the Atlanta Dream in 2023 with a 42 point effort. And you watch it and like, you have to just pinch yourself to remind yourself that she is 40 years old in that game, because like, she's actually still the fastest, smartest, quickest player on the floor. Like, she just makes decisions so much faster than anyone else. She's got 2 defenders on her, and she's just, again, taking those falling away threes and they're going in. And yeah, like, I think what you said holds so much weight, that she retired as a starting WNBA player. Like no one would have dared not to start her until, I think, I don't know. I mean, who knows how she would have showed out this season, but last season there would be absolutely no question that she was a starting WNBA player.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah.
And I mean, she just knows so much about basketball, and I think what you were talking about was like, she processes the game so much quicker than players that are now faster than her or maybe more talented, but she still has that as an advantage. So, what you read in the box score, or like just hitting a shot, she might fall a bit behind the 8 ball as compared to other people. But I think that side of the game, the IQ, will always be strong enough to make her a starting level player. And, with 40 seconds to go in a game, if you've got 2 or 3 decision makers on the court, on either side, like on both teams, you'd probably assume against anyone in the league, Taurasi's probably the best.
Yeah.
Like, not only, sorry, I also led that into that poorly, but not only in every game, but across the league, she is probably the person you want making a decision at the end of a game.
100%.
And that's probably still the case.
Yeah.
She could join the season halfway through this year, and that could still be the case.
Yeah. 100%. Do I have anything else to say? Oh man, she was just really funny. She's always had a good quip, always had a good bit of sarcasm. 122 career technical fouls.
Yeah, that's class.
Which is pretty good in a 30-40 game season.
Yeah, something people don't talk about when they talk about the 40 game season. How impressive it is. That's crazy. That's 3 full seasons worth of games.
Yeah.
No injuries.
There was that quote going around after she retired of when the men and the women Olympic teams are hanging out. I think it was 2016, maybe Rio.
Yeah.
And Draymond is just like yapping away, and then she goes, "Hey Draymond, how does it feel to be the only person in this room who's never been double teamed?"
So good, man. So good. God, that must have been so much. You would have felt so good. A room full of the best basketball players in the world, and you just hit him with one of those.
Just put him in his place.
Yeah, floor the room. That's awesome. And she's I think you've touched on it, but her personality just shone through not only the way she played, but the way she carried herself, and the responses she gave in press conferences. Wish I could have asked her a question. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be right up there with like stuff I've done. And the way she responds to every question she's so generous. She gives so much time. She gives an insight to every single question that she gets asked. And she's the greatest player of all time.
Yep. Valet DT.
Valet DT.
Take a few years off and then think about coaching.
Or coming back. Just like us.
The NBA moves so quickly these days, it's hard to keep up. Shams and Woj are breaking stories left and right, but the Quick Time Out is right there with them to keep you informed on the latest NBA news. Stop in and let us break it down as it happens. Find the Quick Time Out on the Deep 2 Podcast Network.
And we are back. Marco, thank you for taking us through that. I've been a busy little bee lately.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Have you?
I have been a little bit.
I can imagine the way you've been buzzing.
Yeah.
The way you've been buzzing about.
Been buzzing around the place, having bags under my eyes, something else that begins with B, basketball perhaps. I've been talking to everyone, been talking to anyone that'll talk back to me. Spoken to
Just generally.
a few players and head coach from Bendigo, and thus far I've only got one response from Townsville's side of things. But at WNBL Finals week, it's bloody exciting. The first game is in 2 days, and then crazily enough, even if this series were to go the distance, the last game would be in a week, in next Wednesday.
Yeah, wow.
So 9 days from now. So you can count the days on two hands left of the potential WNBL season.
9 of them.
9. And that's if it goes
And then we'll
distance.
have a new champion.
Yeah. This series is going to be incredible. The more and more I think about it, the closer we get, how good these teams are both going right now, how good Townsville's been historically, how good Bendigo's talent is right now. And it is... I'm just so keen for it. It's going to be so much fun. Both teams looked incredible in the first round. They both won 2-0. Bendigo finished the season with a 9-1 record of the last 10 games. Southside finished with 8-1 over their last 9, and then their 10th last game was, funnily enough, a loss against Bendigo. So yeah, both of these teams are ripping and roaring. What are you thinking, Mark?
Well, I'm interested before we get to the matchup, the grand final matchup, if you will. What were your takeaways from the two semi-final series, both for the winning and losing teams, let's say?
Yeah. So I think Sydney, very banged up, finished the season 10 games behind Bendigo. Which is crazy in a 21-game season, and the positives. I don't think there are too many positives for Sydney. Bendigo, I think their ability to just like kind of trudge along like business as usual and absorb just like massive offensive outbursts by Sydney was pretty impressive, and it was kind of like expected. And then as soon as Sydney would falter, Bendigo would just pounce on it and they would win the game there. Like game 1, the first 7 minutes of the game, it was kind of neck and neck. And then with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, Sydney called a timeout, down 21-15. After actually it had been 16-15 about 15 seconds earlier. Then Sammy Whitcomb had this fast break, kind of walked it down the court, scored a layup. Kayla throws a turnover on the inbounds pass, gives up a wide open 3 for Bendigo, which they miss, which then turns into a Bendigo offensive rebound, which then turns into a made 3. That's a timeout. 6 minutes later, so we go from 3 minutes to go in the first quarter to 3 minutes into the second quarter. Somehow the score is 37-21, and the game is just over after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just this massive swing at the start of the second quarter, and then second game, Sydney really fought. I think that was a positive. I just think the negatives on the season overall outshine the positives. Like, and it's actually just the health thing. Like it's just 2 seasons back to back where it's like, I don't know, man. At what point do you stop blaming the players? Like, not that anyone's blaming the players, but like if everyone that's coming through is getting injured,
does it stop being bad luck, and does it start being like, what are you doing? In that facility,
it's got to start. It's started. It's a trend. At this point now,
which is a real shame because like both at the beginning of this season and last season, like Sydney was just such an exciting team. Like, they were such an exciting prospect with who they were putting together, and it just hasn't come together ever. Like I don't think. I mean, you've spoken about this on previous episodes of the W, but like I don't know if there's really been a 5-game stretch where you've been like, this is the best Sydney. Both in terms of health and like chemistry.
Yeah, for sure. So I think just you got to. I think next season, as Sydney, you got to go into the postseason with a healthy roster and like minimum 4 games of that healthy roster at the end of the tail end of the regular season. Perth, they played. It seems like. Actually, let me finish with the Bendigo stuff on that side of things. Just very impressive that they can remain dominant and stay level-headed, and maybe you could criticize them for not winning, making the win look easier in game 2. But they still ended up winning by a comfortable margin. They still found a 5-minute patch to just blow the lead out and then just maintain it. That's another thing, actually. I feel like there wasn't much volatility in the lead once they'd blown it out.
Yeah.
Like, Sydney brought it back from 20 to 10 in like the last minute or two of game 1, and it was fully, the game was over.
Yeah.
So I just think that there, and they got a very strong starting unit, and Abby Waring has just been like just another starter coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But yeah, their starting unit's crazy. Other series, Perth, Townsville, I think Shannon Seabohm just outcoached Ryan Petrick. I think Petrick's offense is really exciting, but I can't tell you what they did differently this season to last season. I think Petrick's a great coach, and he's got a great team, and they all work as a unit really solidly, and I hope they stay together, because I think this team could have won the championship last year, this year, and if they stay together, they can win it next year. So they've got all the right makings, and they've got all the right players and all the right tools. I just think they need to add a couple extra wrinkles and be ready to absorb a punch and not have it kind of take them out of their game. But then also, just be able to try something different. Maybe turn the game into more of a half-court game. Maybe slow it down. I don't know what it is, but like, when it's looking good, it's really good, and they can have a 12-point swing on the scoreboard in the space of a minute and a half, and they probably you go back and watch every game over the past 2 seasons, it's probably happened every single time. But there's got to be, I think it's not something you can really rely on, because there's so much variability within that, even if it does go well. And then Townsville were just like, they've just been so hot as of late, and Bendigo were 3-0 against them throughout the regular season, but I don't think they've seen the best of Townsville. I don't think they've played them with Townsville having Nia Coffey as well, who just went crazy.
She was so good in that first game.
That was insane to watch. But I think these are the two. Best teams. I know that's a softball take, but I was saying Perth was going to win the first round series.
Totally, 100%. That second game from Townsville was just like, it was just clinical, balanced. Looked like they didn't really, they didn't spend all their gas in that game. In fact, I feel like that was true for both Townsville and Bendigo. Like, game 2 was like, all right, we're going to the finals. Let's just get this done, and and keep some gas in the tank. So so we're ready for the big one.
And the big one is in 2 days' time. So I spoke to Kennedy Kariyama, head coach of the Bendigo Spirit. I had 3 questions for him. The conversation went for 25 minutes. He was just gold. Just gold.
Nice.
on gold on gold, and just super generous with his time. He spoke about, he thinks that this will, and I agree with him, that this is the 2 best teams, and this will be, what's funny? He got onto the topic of pressure, and he said he just wasn't feeling any pressure. He was like, he kind of alluded to the fact like, there's pressure every day. I can feel as much pressure as I want, but there's no added pressure right now. We've done the work. Whatever happens, happens. We put together this great team, got this great front office and coaching staff, got this great roster. We're playing our best basketball. We know that we're going to, put our best foot forward in the finals, and we just will live with the result. And it was just such an interesting philosophy. So that's really exciting. I think both teams are pretty locked in, and they're both they're both very connected teams. It's not really about an individual player, as as good as Sammy Whitcomb's season was, or as good as anyone's individual season was. It really is about each team as a unit, and I think that's what we're going to see. It's going to be. It's not like, oh, what if Townsville take away Sammy Whitcomb? It's like, well, there's Veronica Burton and Casey Samuels and Mariana Tolo like creating from the inside, and Kelsey Griffin. Like, what if they take away Sammy Whitcomb?
Yeah.
And then it's like, what if Bendigo take away Abby Ellis? It's like, all right, well, what? There's 6 other weapons they can use there.
Yeah.
So it'll be. I think you got to look out for mistakes. Who's taking care of the game a bit more, who's getting more 50-50 balls. And I think whoever can not necessarily win on the scoreboard early, but whoever can get into their game and their actions first, I think that'll be like kind of a territory war in the first, let's say, 6 minutes of each game. Which is really exciting, because that's like, I don't know, I feel like those are the types of series you get when you got like 2 like excellent basketball teams.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what we have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's very interesting from Kennedy Kariyama. That thing when you're the 1 seed and you just like, not cruise, but like you were so dominant during the regular season, and then you don't want to get the hicks when you get to the playoffs, or when you get to the finals, sorry. And the other thing you can do is just keep doing the same thing you've been doing all season long, because that's what worked. Like, you can't mix it up or anything like that. You just have to keep carrying on what you were doing. Predictions? You gonna make a game 1 a series prediction? Or?
Yeah, I was thinking about this today, and I didn't have one, and then I was thinking I would talk through it, and then I'd gain a prediction. I think if you're an Aussie basketball fan, you'd be crazy to not want this to go to 3 games.
Yeah.
Something to note: both teams lost the last game of their regular season, and both coaches were so happy about it. They were over the moon. They were like, good, that's the perfect time of the year to get a reminder. Predictions: you're crazy to go against Bendigo, aren't you? Like, you got to be crazy. But something's really telling me Townsville. If I got a tip, I have to, obviously. That's what you've asked. Far out, man. Oh, who's your tip?
I'm going to tip Bendigo. I'm going Bendigo in 3. I think, they just looked so... the confidence was just insane in those semi-final games. And the togetherness and the assuredness as well. I don't think Townsville necessarily had any less of that, but like Bendigo have, if both teams look that well prepared going into the finals, then like I think you have to go with the team that has been better, if marginally, all season long. I think Bendigo have the best player in the series as well. And like, as much as you've been talking about, especially with these 2 teams, how if you take away one thing, there's just so much that can replace it. Like, Sammy Whitcomb has just been so dominant. Which, not a hot take.
I think that's something that was evident in the semis as well, is that no matter what Sydney did, Sammy was just going to find a way to get to 20 points. And like, she
loves that. She loves it.
She didn't. I don't reckon she shot the ball in the first quarter of game 2, and they were like face guarding her and picking her up and slowing her down in quotation marks. But the team was just so well prepared to work off that, and also Sammy wanted to pass. Like, it was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, she loves passing.
She's an elite passer. You know what? I'm gonna tip Townsville.
Damn.
You tip and Bendigo tip me over the edge. Good to get that mono.
Oh, because I'm so wrong, am I?
You got the Chuck guarantee. But no, I think the distinction I was making was, or like, what if I were to say one team had an advantage over the other, and even though I think Kennedy Kariyama should have been coach of the year, I think Townsville has better coaching, only marginally. And I think that's the only thing I can say is a point of difference. Everything else across the board is I can't pick any differences otherwise. So yeah, I'm gonna go Townsville
Okay.
and hoping for 3.
I like that. Like, yeah, what C-Bomb? He's like, what? One of the best coaches ever. Like,
Yeah. Well, and like Eric next in line, you'd assume for the Opals. You know what's funny? The Sandy Brondello extended for 2028, and Paul Goris is the associate head coach.
yeah.
I really thought they would have picked C-Bomb for that. Because, like, for the role of associate head coach specifically, like, why wouldn't you get the young guy?
Yeah.
Who I think it's kind of also clear that it's going to be him next.
Yeah.
But yeah. His resume's been ridiculous with the Fire.
Yeah, and you don't want to bet against it in a final situation.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So good luck, everyone. Hope you all enjoy.
Break a leg.
Yeah. I hope you all enjoy the series as much as we will. And yeah, bye.
See ya.